This show is meant to prepare everyday students from kindergarten all the way to high school and beyond on how they can be widely successful in their education and life journeys.
Today's show is called Nicole Says No to the Doctor. Last week, we presented our first secret for high school students to boost their GPA. Today, we will present our first of many tips to successfully engage with toddlers, kindergarten age students. There is a myth out there that your child will always follow your instructions when you tell them to do so, especially when it is essential. But we all know that's not always true. In this episode, we are going to talk about what you can do so your child does follow directions when you tell them. This will be especially important when the directions are essential and your child's safety and well-being is at stake. Ms. Stanley, can you give us some context and background on why or why not toddlers follow directions?
Most children throughout history have been obstinate at times, and each child is unique. Unfortunately, children do not come with an instruction manual attached to them. The parents or caregivers cannot assume that the child inherently understands when they must follow directions, especially when their child's safety and health could be at stake. In this session, we will talk about how we can prepare our children when their behavior must match the instructions, and specific circumstances where and when this would be essential. Simplicity in explaining and real comprehension on the child's side are key.
So you said simplicity is key. Now, what is the secret to getting your child to follow instructions when it counts?
It is a common misconception to assume that your young child knows how important specific situations really are. Forcing your child to do what you want them to will in most cases not result in compliance of your child, especially when you have a strong-willed one. Raising your voice or employing others in assisting you to have your child follow suit will often not work either. Neither does bribing with goodies. The harder you or others try, the more stubborn and scared your child will become. Your child does simply not understand the importance of the situation. Your child will have to know and have to have learned and understood what happens in very simple and relatable explanations. Your child needs to know what the worst case scenario will be in comprehensible terms. What would happen if they do not comply?
But, Ms. Stanley, this all sounds good in theory, but in simple terms, how does it work? Let's take a visit to the doctor as an example. Take us step by step how a parent could potentially prepare their toddler for a visit to the doctor.
Tell your child what the doctor does, like looking at different body parts and how the doctor does that. Children, in general, do fear shots, and you need to acknowledge their fear. Tell them also when no shots are needed to reduce the fear. Do not lie to them. Explain the need of letting the doctor look at their throat. Challenge your child. If they can open their mouth as wide as you can, make a competition with a reward. Explain to your child what it means to be ill and not feel well. Tell your child that they could get more ill and hurt badly if they do not see the doctor. Tell your child that the doctor must find out what's wrong with their health so they can give them the right or good medicine to get well. Be excited about that you know the right doctor that can help with their illness. Unknown people can cause fear in children. Be of comfort and praise your child. Give a special treat afterwards.
That was a nice summary, a step-by-step guide of how a parent could prepare a toddler to go to the doctor's office with a good outcome. And this is really fascinating. Now, can you give us an example of how this has worked in the past A story would be nice to see this strategy in action.
Nicole says no to the doctor. In the morning, the message read, Nicole is not attending today because she is ill. 2 days later, her father dropped Nicole off at her regular time in the morning. He shared with me the troubles they had over the past couple of days. He and his wife had to take Nicole to the doctor to possibly get a prescription, and sweet little Nicole refused to open her mouth for the examination. The parents, the doctor, and the nurse, no one could convince Nicole to open her mouth. Eventually, the family had to leave, with the doctor advising them to take Nicole to the ER if things persist or even get worse. I turned to Nicole and said, Nicole, is this true? She looked me straight in the eye and said, yes, and shrugged her shoulders when asked why she wouldn't do it. Nicole, open your mouth for me so I can see the inside of your throat. Immediately she opened her mouth as wide as she could. Her daddy stood there looking puzzled. Nicole and the class had a changed subject on this day. All the children discussed, played out, and had fun with pretending to be not well on that day. The theme of the day changed to, what happens when we must see the doctor?
What you did with Nicole was really fascinating. If you could break it down to steps for parents to follow, what would these steps be?
Children must know what a doctor does, how the doctor does it, and why you need to see the doctor. All children fear shots and painful experiences they might had before because they remember very well painful experiences. Certain illnesses require extra help and expertise. Illness usually has a remedy. When the illness is over, they feel great again, and the parent will not leave them.
Wow, that's a very nice summary. So to summarize, can you recap the 5 benefits of having a well-prepared and knowledgeable child?
What is the value of good health? Or what would Miss Secret do at the doctor? We all have been at the doctor's office or at a hospital. Miss Secret said, did you know? What is the difference between a closed mouth and an open mouth when the doctor must decide what is wrong with you? Do we feel relief when we know that the doctor or daddy or mommy is going to help us feel better? Or you use their emotions and you whisper, you lower your voice, you whisper in your child's ear, do you remember the secret of why we have to let the doctor look in your mouth?
Very interesting. Ms. Stanley, this was a really mind-opening experience to learn what a parent can do ahead of time such that a child does follow directions when they are told to. I'm confident this will be especially important when the directions are essential and a child's safety and well-being is at stake. Thank you very much for presenting this fantastic feedback on how to prepare a child when they go to the doctor's office.
Join us next week at the same time as we reveal the second secret to success, to calm down a child that has a full-blown fit. You will laugh when you find out what my strategy is.